Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we do a photo chat and talk about photography, what's new, what's going on, and also I do my best to answer any questions I can about photography. And if you have any questions for me, just be sure to put at robtrek at the beginning. It's easier for me to see it in the chat window when I'm looking. And if it's been about 10 or 15 minutes and I missed your question, don't hesitate to ask again. I don't intentionally skip any questions if I can help it, but it happens. Um, is the sound breaking up? Rick, hey Rick, how are you? Thomas is here. Everybody's here. Oh, is it? Oh, it's Tuesday. Tuesday, isn't it? I'm sorry, Thomas. I don't even know what day it is. It's been snowing for like 3 days straight, so I'm just, every day is the same to me now. But, oh, thank you, Darko. You like the group there? Sound is okay. Yeah, if there's any problems with the sound or oh, Ellie just walked in. Hi, Ellie. Let me close the door. Go to bed. Hold on. I have to close the door because I put a space heater on and it keeps me nice and warm in here versus the rest of my house. Oh, you found an app that controls your AO1. That's an old Olympus camera that's about the size of a lens. Doesn't have any view screen on it, but it's meant to be designed to work with a smartphone. So that's cool. I'm surprised you found something for that. Uh, yeah, the breakup on the intro, I noticed that when it was playing, the sound didn't sound right, so I have to look into that, you know. But thankfully, the microphone sounds okay. Maybe because I was plugging the mic in while I was playing the intro, and I'm using this. Oh, I did some cable management today, so it won't reach out so you can see it. But it's yeah, I'm really excited about this mic. So look for that review this week. It sounds really good. Corda's here, Elaine. Good to see you. Hopefully you got the email this morning. Jack Knack, I don't know if he's here, but he um he sent me a link to some Photoshop game he made. I might put it in my forum if you guys are interested, but it's so simple, it's kind of just a yes or no sheep and dragon game. I don't know. I played through it and won, I guess, if you can win. I don't know. But that's cool. Hey, David Crooks is here. Good to see you. You're scared to try it. Oh God, don't be afraid. You have to have Photoshop though. It only works in Photoshop. I guess he uses scripts in Photoshop. It's pretty cool. I mean, the idea of running a script in Photoshop is kind of cool. I'm a very, very simple Photoshop user. I just used a couple of things I know how to do, and that's it. Um, I just finished editing yesterday morning the photos and video for the photo job I had on Friday. I don't know. I put it off all weekend and finally got around to it. So I spent about 2.5 hours on site because it was a shopping center. And then I spent between photos and video about 4 hours, so about 6.5 hours of work. And I uh, I really didn't charge enough, but the guy gives me a lot of good jobs, so I cut him a lot of slack on his photo work. And I might throw in a couple more videos for free since I have footage and I didn't really use it. Um, just throw them a bone a couple times. Uh, keeps them happy, and I enjoy doing it. But technically, you shouldn't give away free stuff, right? But these will be like little short 1 minute videos of some very very basic footage that I decided not to use in the overall video, but you know, it makes for nice B-roll for some of the other properties in the shopping center. So I don't know. I'm debating. I'd rather watch, you know, something on TV than make a video sometimes. Hey, Corno was out shooting his EP5. Oh, not too much to shoot. Yeah, sometimes it's just, you know, there's always something to shoot, right? It's just a matter of having the right motivation or creative mindset. And sometimes, you know, I can just go in my backyard and find all kinds of neat things to take a picture of. And then other times I'm like, eh, just not up to it, you know? Just I guess I don't know, but these creative stages come in waves, right? Sometimes you're like really inspired and just jotting ideas down, and other times, um, you know, it could be like the perfect conditions, but you just don't feel like one. Like right now, there's beautiful fluffy snow coming down outside, and we got about 3 or 4 inches on the ground, and it's really beautiful. But I'm like, it's just too cold. I'm not up to going out. Uh, Did that goat ever return to your heart? No. I'm surprised you remember that. No. I don't know what happened to that goat. I should have, you know, I didn't know what to do to catch it, you know, because it's a little, for you guys that don't know, there was a little baby goat that people keep as pets sometimes, I guess, that was just got loose because it had a collar, right? And I didn't know how to catch it, but I should have just got some treats apparently, because the owner eventually came around about a half hour later or so with treats looking for their goat, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I tried to catch it, but I couldn't. It was." I pointed her in the right direction, but hopefully they found their pet goat. But I'll show you another thing, something to do with the job I just finished. Maybe I'll show you guys the video if you guys are interested. Hold on. It's become, my cable management was a little too aggressive this yesterday. Now I can't move the mic anywhere. um, but just so you can see, like these are the numbers are the numbers of the video. So I probably took about 40 short clips, you know, just 4 or 5 minutes each, and then I marked them, you know, like there was a bank in the shopping center, so bank front. Did I say bank front pan 3/4? Bank front pan. Some of these are mostly there's a pans. There's a slider one, and so on and so on. These are interiors of the. This was an office space. Some of these are storefronts. Sometimes I did some walking action, and I did all the video with my DJI Osmo, my little pocket Osmo. I've been looking at the DJI Osmo Pocket 2. Um, I don't know, other than maybe slightly better video quality. I'm not sure what 500 bucks will give me because it has a larger sensor. So maybe I'll get a little, because this is a little bit noisy, to be honest. The noise on this is not, you know, you have to have really good bright light to get no noise. Um, but it gets the job done. And then for most of the photos, I use my EM1 Mark III and the 7-14 lens. And you know, now I know why I went back to using I switched over to using my 8mm fisheye for months. I don't know, for about 6 months I was using 8mm fisheye instead of that 7-14 Panasonic, because the glare on that Panasonic is just, it ruined one of the shots, which, you know, I delivered the picture to the client, but you know, it has a big purple blob in it, which I don't even know if they're going to use it. Luckily, the angles from the other things are good. Maybe I can show you guys that Panasonic 7-14. It's super sharp. It's a great lens, but man, if you get any kind of points of light into it or flare, it's brutal. What do you want, Ellie? But here are some of the shots. These shots. Oh, you can't see this. These shots up here I did with. These are just screen captures from the video from the DJI Osmo. You know. So this is actually a 4K video, and then I just took a screen capture of one of the frames in the video, and that's it. Very simple. And it's fine for, it's fine for this kind of work. Gets the job done. Let me show you the, which one was it? This one. Oh my God, this one here. You can see the lens flare. I tried to dehaze and depurple, take the purple flaring out. I feel really bad about this shot. It just, the thing is though, once I deliver to the client, they put it on their own, through their own app to put it on their website, and it compresses it even more, and it looks like crap. Anyway, to be honest. Oh, down here, I took a picture of my stereo. These are my DCMs, because I'm only showing this because I've talked about this before. These are my DCM TFLs. Yeah, they're TF275s. My little turntable and my Yamaha amp. This is my SACD player, dual cassette and all my CDs and games and my albums. And there's a subwoofer down here. It sounds pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the setup finally. It took me a while to find the right place to put everything. But my sister saw this and she's like, God, you're such an old man. I'm like, what do you mean I'm an old man? I don't know. Anyway, let me talk about, I don't know, you guys even interested in these photos? I could talk about these a little bit. Wasn't that a Prince album? Purple Blob? Yeah. Oh, hey, just love this game. Hi. Yeah, I do enjoy the photo chats and the streams. This is really the highlight of my day. I look forward to coming out and just talking to everybody. And now Ellie's moving the camera. Dang. Now you can see the mic. Well, now I'm making all these clicky sounds. Oh, I just noticed my green screen wood panel here is off. I better fix that. Yeah, I noticed it last time when I was rewatching. Let me see. This is supposed to cover me completely, like that. There. But yeah, I do enjoy the streams, and I try to keep it photography based, the chat. But sometimes it just I go off on these tangents about other types of things because we all love you know different things in our lives. Photography is my primary joy and what I get the most pleasure out of. But digging out my old stereo, because that stereo system you saw there is at least 15 years old, and the speakers are closer to 30. And just like a lot of my cameras are very, very old, and then I have the new stuff. Rick is asking, why did I choose the Panasonic 7 to 14 over the Olympus equivalent? Generally speaking, manufacturers' in-camera and post-lens correction is better if you stick with the native lens. Absolutely. The 7 to 14 Panasonic is the 7 to 14 from Olympus is definitely superior. It doesn't suffer from these lens flare issues. And I only say that from images I've seen from it. I've never seen people have problems with it in the pictures I've seen, nor have I ever heard of problems with lens flare. Unlike the Panasonic, you hear about it constantly. And I bought that lens. I might even bought it before Olympus had the 7 to 14 available. I bought that lens almost 5 years ago when I first got into shooting Micro Four Thirds, because I was shooting a Nikon D750 and that was my work camera. that I was doing all my real estate photography. And, you know, after shooting with the EM10 Mark II, I was like, man, this thing does great. And it's very small and compact. I could probably use this for my professional work. So I went to find a wide angle lens that I could use with it. And I got that. I paid like 600 for it 5 years ago, which I think it's still selling for that now. I'm not sure, but you know, I bought it secondhand from the local District Camera, which is my favorite local camera store. Thankfully, they're still in business today and doing well. But that's why I bought it. Is it was the only 7-14 wide angle lens I think Olympus had. I think they had a 9-18. Um, the 9-18 was available, but it was not in stock. And I said, well, you know, 7-14 would be better. You know, the wider the better when you're doing uh, real estate photography, because you get into really tight spaces a lot of times. And I've always worked around the lens flaring issue. I didn't discover it until I actually started using it. I always worked around it the best I can. And a lot of times I can fix it in Photoshop because it'll be usually the flaring will be like on a white wall and I can just brush it out and it's not a big deal. But sometimes, like this bank that I just took a picture of, I can't brush it out because there's too many tones and textures in there for me to brush it out and look natural, right? But that's why I bought it. I don't think the 7-14 from Olympus was available, and it was more than double the price, right? So, um, if it even was available, it was more than double the price. So I just went with the cheaper option without knowing about the purple flaring. But like I said, I got around with it for a long time, and then when I got this 8mm fisheye, I switched to using this for about 6 months for the real estate photography because you can do fisheye correction, and it's actually a little wider than the 7mm, even though this is an 8mm lens. When you do the correction, it's actually wider. Feels like a 5 or 6mm rectilinear lens compared to the Panasonic. I mean, I don't know exactly the millimeter that it is, but they claim 8mm fisheye here. And this doesn't have any of the purple flaring issues, you know. There's very mild flare that you have to really try to get flare on this lens to get it. So it has very, very good coatings. And I think I went back to using the Panasonic because I recently started, the last 4 months I've been adding video work to my jobs, and it's just easier to work with a rectilinear image in video than to have to try to correct it, and it still looks a little weird sometimes in video. It's much harder to work with. Um, so I switched to using that to record video, but that's why I switched back to using that. And then when I went on my last job, I just left it on there. I should have brought my 8mm. But to be honest, my eyes are so bad now. I can't even see the flaring when I take the picture anymore. Um, it's not until I get home and put it on a big monitor that I said, "Oh, damn it, there's flare." You know, um, I used to be able to see it sometimes through the viewfinder and EVF a lot easier. But now, unless I have my glasses on, I can't really see the back of the screen anyway. And leaning down and look at the viewfinder for every shot is not practical in terms of workflow. Um, so I turn the EVF off when I'm doing my photo jobs because I probably would have seen it, but even then, through the EVF, it's only a 2 megapixel image. Although it's really good, it's not. I probably still wouldn't see it even through the EVF. Um, but yeah, just a slight tilt up or down would have probably got rid of that flare if I saw it in the field. Or just putting my hand over the lens a little bit, you know. Sometimes I just use my hand and block wherever the flare is coming from. But in this case, I couldn't. That's what happens. Yeah, 600 US, yes. That was, but like I said, that was 4 or 5 years ago. So, yeah, prices have probably come down on that quite a bit. Let me just check Panasonic 7 to 14. It's still going for that. Look, these are used, right? Here's one on eBay used, but that might be a bid price. KEH 500 from Borrow Lenses 600. So I didn't, it's still holding its value. I mean, if you really shop around, I'm sure you could find, 300 bucks, but let's look at eBay 425. Yeah, that's a good deal there. Here's another one 529. So yeah, there seems to be. And who's this from? This is from a guy that has hardly any ratings. He's only got 96. So I feel like, let me see. 400, 600, 400, 400. So yeah, I think 500 or less is a good price for this lens now. Don't pay 600 like I did. But like I said, I've gotten my money back on it. No problem. Um, Rick says it's important to be aware that modern lens design isn't just about glass and metal, but includes software corrections. That's why I'd always recommend fitting Ollie on Ollie and panning and pan. Yes, absolutely. I mean, when you put what Rick is referring to is, Olympus. When you put an Olympus lens on an Olympus camera, it corrects for, flaring and distortion, and other chromatic aberration. All the things that the defects that lenses have get corrected by the same camera. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm about 99% sure that when you put a Panasonic lens on an Olympus camera, it may correct for distortion, but it may not correct for other things like the purple flaring. Because people have said when you use that Panasonic lens on a Panasonic camera, you don't get that purple flaring, which doesn't make sense to me because that's clearly, I don't know. I have to try it one time. I only have one Panasonic Micro Four Thirds camera. But that's a very good point. You'll definitely get better results when you use same manufacturer lenses. When you match them up, you get that synergy, right? Uh, and there's a lot to be said for synergy when you buy one brand of anything. Uh, things are generally designed to work together better. And John Whiteaway says, do you think that OM Digital will produce new firmware for the EM1X, EM1, EM Mark III, etc.? Are those bodies now as good as we will get? I don't see why they wouldn't continue to update the firmware, uh, because they did acquire everything from Olympus, right? Including, all the teams. Now, if they lay off the software team, yeah, we're out, right? We're not going to see firmware ever again. But if they do plan to continue making digital cameras, they're going to need a software team, and they could task, that team to update firmware of older cameras. So I don't see why they wouldn't continue to update firmware. I can't think of any reason they wouldn't, but yeah, time will tell. The Google Max looks like a large beast of a thing, maybe the best sound. I'm thinking of going with an Apple ecosystem for everything. I don't know what a Google Max is. So I need that in context of Apple. I'm not an Apple person at all. Home Solutions came out with a new magazine. Well, very well produced. Oh, cool. Most of my wide angle shots with my Fuji 14 millimeter. Pretty good lens. Too bad it hasn't got weather sealing. Yeah. 14 millimeters, so that's what, a 21 millimeter equivalent in 35, and then back to 4/3, so that would be like a 10.5 millimeter lens. That's pretty wide angle. It's not quite wide enough for real estate work. You really need to be closer to 7 millimeters in micro four thirds terms, or 14 millimeters in full frame. All right, John, we'll see you later. Thanks for dropping in. And Rick says another huge advantage of the Olympus fisheye is that you can ignore focusing even when it's wide open, whereas you can get caught out of if you misfocus. Definitely. You have a little more wiggle room with the 8 millimeter, definitely. The fisheye lens. I mean, when I'm shooting real estate, I generally shoot f 5.6 on my EM1, but things are still out of focus sometimes, so I have to be very careful, because I did find a couple of shots out of focus when I got back home. And I always do time to time because I'm not paying attention sometimes. I don't know if it's just age or it's frustrating though, you know? Especially when I have a huge job like that shopping center. Luckily, all of the pictures, except maybe one or two, were tack sharp, but wow. I've been on some smaller jobs that, damn it, you know, it was out of focus. And I still use them because when you downsize them to 2 megapixels, that's how I deliver them. 2 megapixel images, you know, 1920 by 1080, give or take. It's hard to tell that they're out of focus, but yeah, that's it's bad on me for doing that. But, you know, like I said, I just use screenshots from videos sometimes. When, like a couple of weeks ago, when I had a job at a car dealership, I totally forgot to take a picture of the customer lobby, you know, the lounge. I don't know how I forgot. That was the only nice place in the whole dealership, and I forgot to take a picture of it. But fortunately, I had video of that room, so I took a screenshot from one of the videos I took of that room, and it came out fine. But man, things you know you can get away with sometimes. That's why this one particular agent, I give them a little bit extra free stuff sometimes, or big discount, you know. There's new firmware for the 12 to 32 in 2020. Oh, good to know. I have that lens. And Corna says, with my 12 to 32 on the Ollie M5, there's no distortion correction. Pretty high barrel distortion on the wide end. Oh, okay. So it's not even correcting for barrel distortion. That's interesting. The reason I suspected that that Olympus cameras are doing barrel distortion um, on Panasonic lenses, because when I use my 7 to 14, the lines are fine. They're perfectly straight. I don't see any barrel distortion. I do correct sometimes, but that's when I'm doing panos. So I didn't notice any. And then when in Lightroom, when you try to correct for distortion, there's no selection, meaning it's grayed out, meaning that the camera's already applied the correction to the image. So I don't see it. I'll show you what I mean. It's when I just say it out loud, it doesn't make any sense, but I'll show you what I mean. Let me find an image. Lightroom's taking its time to pull up. So here's one of the shots I took. You know, it's just a gutted build. This used to be a bank. There was a huge giant safe right here. I don't know how they got that thing out, man. That thing was huge. But when I go down here to the right, Um, where's the lens corrections? Here, lens corrections. So profile. It says right here built in. So I don't have to do anything. Let me see if they have. See, they don't even have Panasonic in the list here because supposedly the camera is doing the correction. So this is my EM1 Mark III with the 7 to 14 millimeter um, Panasonic. And it looks fine to me. I mean, it's so wide, you know, you got wide angle distortion. Let me see if I can find a tighter shot. That's not very tight, but this is another example. It looks perfectly fine. If I were to do any correction manually, what's interesting though is when I disable the correction, nothing changes. It stays exactly the same. So that kind of tells me that let me turn it off. Tells me it's not doing any barrel correction unless this lens is already pretty good. But I could let's do custom. Yeah, still no Panasonic. Yeah, I don't have any way to select. I don't have any way to manually do it. Oh, up here, manual. Um, oh, actually, that looks a little bit straighter when I pull it in about a +6. Then I'll constrain the crop. So, you know, that looks distorted. That looks pretty straight right there. But it's so close. Honestly, in the 6 or 7 years, maybe it's been longer. I've been doing real estate photography with that lens. I've never done barrel distortion correction. Looks like I could do a little bit though, but I've never had any complaints. Um, Lauren says Google makes a huge home speaker. Tell it what to play and it plays it. Some Apple HomePod. Apple's promise is privacy. Oh, okay. So you're talking about some kind of speaker. Yeah. I mean, for just listening to music and getting decent sound, you know, most you know, mid-range systems sound good enough. You know, if you want to get into audiophile stuff, I'm not a, you know, I don't have any high-end audiophile stuff. I have all mid-range, you know, gear. Um, it sounds good enough for my house. It's not like I have a dedicated, you know, if you're gonna go audiophile, you know, you really should have a dedicated room for listening and then design the room around the system, or vice versa, you know, but get something that so that you can get a nice sound stage and balance between the speakers and the walls and the furniture and everything in there. You know, they got these microphones they sell to help you balance things. Um, it's I just, you know, with my dying eyes and dying ears on top of that, my frequency range of my hearing is pretty limited. I measured it between about 80 and 10 or 11,000 kilohertz. But I set up a center channel. I forget what they call it, Halifax or something, but I set up a center channel that helped with the soundstage a little bit, even though technically, um, well, anyway, let's not talk about audio stuff. um, I got a link from OMD Nordic to the magazine. I haven't seen the magazine. And Corna says, and almost all wide-angle shots are manually focused, can't deal with AF in landscapes. Ah, yeah, I don't have any problems with AF generally. Like I said, that photo job I just finished, you know, I didn't find any out of shot focus. I think I remember seeing one, but I had plenty more to choose from. And the focus clutch on the X14 and 12 to 40 Pro rocks. Yeah, if you're going to manually focus, the focus clutch is nice. Yeah, it could be that it's depending on the panel lens. So maybe the panel lens um, is I don't know. I don't know how that would work, to be honest. I don't have an Olympus 714 to compare wide angle shots to see if the lines are perfectly straight. Oh, Casper's here. How you doing? And Randy says, I don't mix makes, kind of like buying Chevy parts for my Mercury would explode. And Lauren says, Rob, have you contacted NASA in regard to the curvature of the Earth in their photography? It should be flat. I don't think you would like outer space when you look back at the world. I don't mind circles. Circles are different than curves and hills. Circles are fine because they're not meant to be straight. It's my problem is when I see lines crooked, that bothers me. And Rick said it's built-in lens correction on hybrid lensing camera setups may be just best fit. Yeah. Always more reliable to stick to native lenses, definitely. And Annette says it's a 100-page magazine. And Cornet says you can hear 11,000. Yeah, I have to turn the volume way up, but I can hear it. And I tested Ellie's hearing too because she's sitting there with me while I'm doing these tone tests, and she'll perk up and listen when she hears the tone. She's about the same range. So the question is, are my speakers able to reproduce higher than 11,000 kilohertz? I should use my headphones. I got a nice set of headphones. I should use that instead of my speakers. But that's just a rough test to see if I could hear what my hearing range was. Lauren, I'll leave you flat. And I say thank you. I've told my girlfriend story before. Not girlfriend, but date story in Star Trek. Yeah, don't mix Star Trek and dates. Okay? Things will go better for you if you don't talk about Star Trek on a date. Oh, you just checked out the one magazine. It's really nice. That's awesome. And Rick says robtrek should go live in the Netherlands. They're completely flat, or maybe one of them mid-states. I have no idea. And Lawrence says, I'll send you a CD with hissing sound to replicate a turntable, maybe a little scratch sound as well. I have one. It's a Madonna CD. One of her songs, I think it's Vogue, starts out with record scratch. CDs are the best, though. I mean, if they've been mastered well, they sound the best. I'm sad to see that format kind of dying. Nobody talks about buying CDs, and you don't see CD players everywhere, in the stores anymore. Everybody's going MP3, which sounds okay. If you can get at least 192 kilohertz out of an MP3 or 192 bits, that's a pretty decent sounding CD. It'd be impossible for me to tell if it was any higher. I can definitely hear a difference between 128 and 192, though. At 128, it sounds just a little bit muffled. It's just a little bit off. At 192, though, or higher, I really can't tell any difference, me personally. Ellie can hear the end of the Sgt. Pepper album. John Lennon added a dog whistle. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I like a few songs, but I'm not a huge Beatles fan. Yeah, and high-res streaming is getting more popular. You know, it's just another $6 or $10 a month I don't want to spend. I it's like death by a thousand cuts, all these little subscriptions. I have Netflix and I have Amazon Prime. And now I have a streaming service that I'm going to start using more, which, oh, I need to talk about too. I'm trying to get Maddie on this weekend, or at least some weekend this month, and also the guy from Narrowband Channel, who's a astrophotographer, and he uses a lot of Olympus gear. I don't know if exclusively Olympus, but every video I've seen has been with Olympus OMDs. We're working out a schedule for him to come on Sunday, so look out for that. A real astrophotography guy, because every time someone asks me about astrophotography, I can give very basic general thing, um, use a wide angle, 1600 ISO, 8 to 15 seconds, and you should get something. But it's very rudimentary, right? He can really give you detail about astrophotography, talk about tracking maybe, talk about focus or photo stacking, dark frames, all the stuff that's all that astrophotography lingo, and go into detail about that. So I'm going to work out an outline, and maybe I'll post something in my community tab for you guys to post questions for him so that we can put a better live stream together. Because it's asking me to put a live stream together about astrophotography is hard for me because I know nothing about it. I wouldn't even know what to ask. I mean, like I said, it's very rudimentary, my knowledge. I'm familiar with, noise pollution filters and, um, just I just know a tiny bit compared to this guy. Oh, is that you, Annette? Thank you. Yeah, he did send me an email. Because in the last stream I said, can you guys leave a comment to him? Because I left a comment on one of his videos. Well, not his video, but on his community tab, he made some posts. So I left a comment there for him to contact me, but I guess he missed it. And I should have tried harder, but um, I'm just very conservative that way. I don't like to bother people, like blast them with emails and contacts. You know what I mean? I'm a lot less aggressive that way. Um, so anyhow, thank you, Annette. I appreciate that, and we're definitely going to put something together. Music Sound Gear says I used to sit in a room with nice headphones and listen to music. Now I'm in a noisy car or a room with TV going. Yeah, absolutely. And so MP3 is fine, at least for me. Yeah. Yeah, 128 or 192. 192 is best though if you can get it. I've played like 328 kilohertz MP3s time to time, and they sound good, but I don't have a 192-bit version to compare it to. So yes, Lauren, I do use Amazon Music on uh I have all my playlists set up and everything. And what I do is I use the Amazon Music app on my Apple TV, and that that goes digitally through HDMI into my TV set. And then my TV set has a optical digital cable output that goes into my amp. And the amp has its own DAC. It's a Yamaha amp, so it should have a decent DAC. And the sound that I get from that combination is really good. I don't see a need for high resolution audio. And what I like about the Amazon Music app in the Apple TV box is it seems to buffer the stream. So when it's buffering the stream, um, I'm guessing that it's I don't know for a fact because you can't find any information on these apps. How it's actually process processing the music. But I've done everything I can to get the best sound I can with the stuff that I have, and Because when I played the Amazon Music through a Bluetooth connection, I had different problems. The sound was okay, but it was a little bit thin, I thought. And also, what was the other issue I had? I had two issues. The volume level from song to song would change. So some songs were too quiet, some songs were too loud, and I didn't feel like there was enough. I don't know. So I don't know if the Amazon Music app in the Apple TV is doing additional processing before it sends it out over HDMI to make it sound better, but it sounds good to me, good enough. Until I decide to go all out and buy, a PS Audio and a Blue Note 2i or something, that's not all out, right? Because you have to spend about $3,000 to $5,000 to get entry level high end audio. Just entry level high end audio. And then, like I said, with my dying ears, am I going to be able to tell a difference, right? Um, Probably not. Yes, I don't hate Apple. Rick says, I thought you had a long-standing hatred of Apple. Okay, I bought my very first Apple product a couple months ago, the Apple iPad Pro, for, and I hardly use it, but I bought it because it had one specific thing I needed that I couldn't find on anything else, Android. It just wasn't available. So I use it for that one thing specifically, and I've only used it once for that. And um, the Apple TV was actually I inherited from my dad because he passed away a couple years ago, and he had an Apple TV. So that's what I use now to stream TV shows like Netflix and stuff. So that was kind of an inherited thing. I didn't buy it, but it works fine. I mean, Apple makes fine products. I have no problem with their technology, their interface. Everything is wonderful. My problem with Apple stems back to the 80s with an experience I had with one of their sales reps. And, it's stupid. One sales rep ruined Apple for me. Because every time I look at an Apple product, my mind, my emotions, my psyche goes back to that time in the 80s when I had that issue. And because I swore back then, and I broke a promise to myself that I would never buy an Apple product. Um, and sometimes you just got to get over it. It's like, and my sister bought me for Christmas some Apple AirPod Pros, earbuds or something, which are really cool. Like I said, their products were great, but my psyche is back to the 80s when I had that incident. Try the HomePod. I have no idea what that is. And Lauren says with Bluetooth you can only play the blues. Try the HomePod. I don't know what that is. I'm trying not to spend money. I've already spent money this month. What did I buy this month? What was it? I can't remember now. But I've spent almost $700 trying to fix my furnace, and that's it's killing me. I got to try and pay that off in the next 30 days or so. But um, yeah, I didn't like that. But you got to do it. You can't have your house burned down. Oh, okay. Music Sound Gear has a link. Says OM Magazine is on OM Digital. I'll look for it. And Apple iPad is good for showing people your work. Yeah, I I can't imagine. Most of my business I get through word of mouth, like referral, and they look at my clients portfolio on their website and say, oh yeah, this looks good. I'm going to be going to a commercial event in a couple of weeks where hopefully I'll be able to get some more business because it's died off quite a bit last year. I mean, I had some good business in the second and the third quarter, but it really died off in the fourth quarter. Yeah, let it go, Rob. I know, Lauren, right? You just got to let things go, you know? It's like life is too short. And what did the sales rep do? Oh, he just he just kind of insulted me a little bit, right? Like just the way he I wouldn't say insulted, but he talked down to me a little bit when I was there. And I get it. He was trying to pump up his product. You know, I was at the time I was looking at an Apple Mac, one of the old ones, you know, back in the 80s, whatever that machine was called. And it had to do with the disk drive in the computer because he pulled out this little floppy disk. He says, look, you can save everything onto this floppy disk. And I was like, really? So I said, show me. So he put the floppy disk in there. And because at the time, most of the disks were the 5 1/4 when I was looking at computers, and the Apple was using the little 3 inch disc, right? 3.5 inch. And I said, okay, show me how that works. So he was saving the picture to the floppy disk, and I was looking, I was like, where's the little red light, you know, to show me that it's actually writing to the disk. And he looked at me, he says, what do you need that for? I was like, well, so you can see that it's actually saving something to the disk. It's not just sitting in there, you know, not doing anything. He says, you don't need that. We have the little hourglass right here. Lets you know that the computer is saving, right? And that's what got me off, and that's why you have to be really careful when you talk to people. You don't know what's going to set them off, but that set me off. And I said, well, that's fine, but you know the computer could be frozen into this like spinning hourglass thing and not saving anything, you know. And I'd like to see some confirmation. So you know, shortly thereafter, I left, and I said, I'm never buying an Apple because those guys are pompous, arrogant asses. And they were back then. They probably are still today. I don't know. No, I'm sure they're very nice people, but that's what got me off of Apple for life. And the only Apple products I've had in my life since then have been gifts to me. Like somebody bought me an Apple iPod. Um, the Apple TV was inherited, and I finally I had to break down and buy an Apple iPad Pro. And I says, you know, I like Lauren says, you just have to let things go sometimes, you know. Just you know, why have these barriers in your life that are art, you know, just your own, you know, most problems people have, it's their own fault, and this was something I had to overcome. But that's what happened, Elaine. Long story short. And right, Rick says, or Lauren says, or Marcus, hey Marcus, how are you? I'm going up the chat thing here. um, things are good. I'm feeling good. And Rick says, you can't let some damn salesman affect the whole of your life. That's sad. Well, you know, I mean, Apple products, right? You can live without them. It didn't really affect me that much. Um, and Titty Totter, oh, good to see you back. Hi, Rob, great show. Thinking of moving up to the M10 Mark II to the Mark IV. I heard there are one or two useful features that are missing on the MK4, and will add an extra 4 megapixels make that much difference. I think the key thing with the Mark IV is the flip down screen and the better autofocusing and processing engine. So I would say the things that are missing, it's worth it to the EM10 Mark IV over the EM10 Mark II at this point. The M10 Mark III I'd skip altogether, but I think you'll get a much better experience with the Mark IV over the Mark II because of the handling. It has a nicer grip on it and better engine processing for the images. 20 megapixels. It won't make that much difference, 16 to 20. Honestly, I can't tell. But I would say get the Mark IV. That said, you know, what you don't have on the Mark IV is I know it doesn't have any presets or my sets or custom settings that you can save. That's very, very handy. Um, you can do that on the EM10 Mark II, but you can't do it on the Mark IV. And I think silent shutter is another issue. It only works in program mode. It doesn't work in other modes. I mean, there's some other little things that to me would not be deal breakers. The custom settings was a deal breaker for me on the EM10 Mark III, but it would not be a deal breaker for me on the EM10 Mark IV because it does have better autofocusing and the better grip and the flip down screen. So it's kind of I can live without the custom presets. Now, if I was doing things professionally, because the EM10 Mark II, believe it or not, I used that camera professionally in my real estate photography for a long time. And if I was still going to use that camera professionally, I would not get the EM10 Mark IV because of the presets. I definitely use the presets a lot in my professional work. But as an enthusiast photographer, not so much, you know. Um, I'm constantly changing settings when I'm in the field, so presets are kind of a moot point for me in the field, with the exception of I have a preset for this is the only exception when presets come in handy is when you want to switch from shooting, say, landscapes or flowers or whatever people to, say, birds in flight, sports action type stuff. Then having a preset is nice because you can quickly switch to the scene, because a lot of times I'll be out on a photo walk and I want to quickly catch a bird flying away. And if I can't just flip a switch and be in that mode to take that picture, I'm going to miss the shot. So in those situations, it's very, very handy. On the EM10 Mark IV, you can kind of get around that by just going from aperture priority to shutter priority, switching it very quickly. But when you're in shutter priority, make sure that you have it preset for your birds in flight type settings. So like I said, the EM10 Mark IV offers enough for me to get by without the presets or custom settings, but I wouldn't, with the exception if you're doing professional work like I do, where I use 3 or 4 presets all the time uh, in every room. So I'll go into a room and I'll use preset 1, which is my bracketed shot. I'll use preset 2, which is my flash shot, and I'll use preset 3, which is my spot metering shot. And 9 times out of 10, I use, well, I'd say 100% of the time, I use presets 1 and 2, and probably 3 or 4 times out of 10, I use preset number 3. And I have the 4th preset just for regular photos where none of the other 3 apply. Like an outdoor shot, I can just use regular program mode when I'm outdoors. I don't need to bracket and do all that crazy stuff. But indoors, the presets are very have been a huge savings in workflow for me, and that's why I stopped using Nikon. And that's something the M10 Mark II does that the M10 Mark IV does not. Oh, okay, Annette, thank you. Thank you. I'll look for that. And I think the Apple computer was sitting on the shelf crooked. I was not into real estate back then or getting straight lines. And Elaine says they were pompous back then. In the 80s, I went to Apple Store too. I asked them if they were crazy charging that for a computer, and they ripped me to shreds. Wow. Yeah, I know, right? What's wrong with people? It's got nothing to do with Apple. It's people. People suck sometimes. They're just. It's like, it's like this thing with even in photography. It's like you got to go full frame, and well, why? I don't need it. I don't use it at all. Um, I mean, I got this Panasonic now. I don't even. Oh, here. That the last time I took a picture of this with this camera was November 1st. Was the last time I actually used it in a photo walk. I mean, I've had test shots since then that don't really count because I was making a video, but um, I've yet to have a reason to break this out, even for video work, which is the reason I bought it. Because honestly, this little DJI is a lot more functional and versatile, even though the image quality is not as good. For the kind of shots I showed you early on in the stream, this is perfectly fine. Oh, thank you, David. Let me cut and paste. David's sending me a link too. Must be important. Everybody's sending me a link to that. Oh, let me try it. Hold on. Okay, I got it bookmarked. So this is the magazine. Oh, cool. Look at that. Nice. Chief Operating Officer of OM Digital Solutions. So he's got some. Thank you for joining us in this new journey. Wow. We plan to build on the strengths of Olympus system and will bring you exciting news as the year goes on, even more than we have already hinted at our product roadmap. Transition to a new business is not without its challenges, but we are already confidently settling into the new routine. Awesome. Oh, this is, well, I don't know. Anyway, that's great. That's awesome. Thank you. Let me save that in my photography tab. I'm definitely going to read that. That looks really good. Uh, let's see. And man, oh man, power corrupts. Yes. Fast forward to today, and Apple is no longer expensive. Mac Mini M1 is $699 at Costco. Is smoking fast. $669. The iPhone SE is $399 and has decent resale value. Yeah, I mean, the Apple products are fine. The hang up is with me. It's got nothing to do with Apple, right? It's not you, it's me, the old story. The old saying, I should say. And hi, Rob from Gloucestershire. Oh, Robert Welch. Hello. Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire. Okay, I got it. Thank you for the phonetics there. Sometimes it's hard. Um, and Rick says, panic. It's just been on the news that my power supply company has ceased trading. Got to go make some phone calls to check my hearing isn't going. Wow. You know, yesterday it's funny. It's like I got a text from one of my other jobs. It's not photo related. It says, Rob, can you update, the website with this information? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then the power goes out in my house for like over an hour. It's like a 15-second job, to make this quick update. Or not 15 seconds, like 15-minute job to make an update to a website. And the poor client had to wait almost, an hour and a half before I could update the site, which, not a big deal, but I said, yeah, I'll do it right now when I text them back. And then it's like an hour and a half later. And it was also, I was right in the middle of rendering the video that I made for my other client for the video work. Right in the middle of the rendering, the power goes out. Now, fortunately, I was on the laptop, so it finished the rendering on its own at a much slower pace, because when it goes on battery power, it goes into the slow power mode. Um, but yeah, you just never know what's going to happen sometimes. And Lauren says the future product for Rob made by Olympus will be self-leveling photo taking mode. DJI has done it with this gimbal, right? If they come out with a micro four thirds gimbal size camera, I'd buy it instantly. I wonder if that exists already. I know there's some micro four third drones, right? Um, and the future product of, oh, sorry, and Elaine and David are going through this language issue. It's okay, Elaine, I get it. But David, I appreciate you keeping an eye out on the chat section. Yeah, it's better to use initials. You never know who's watching. You know what I mean? Not just YouTube, but just, kids in general. I really try not to use swear words. I used one today already, which, when I talk about Apple, I get upset because I think about that back in the 80s. There was a really small window, a couple of years where, man, I was dropping the F-bomb left and right. I don't know why. I don't know why I got into this like little part of my life where just foul language was like just normal talk. But most of my life, I try to keep it, I try not to use those kind of words. And then Marcus says, "Hey Rob, I saw you once did a video on storytelling and photography. I gave it a shot and it turned out pretty good. Thanks for the idea." Oh, awesome. That must be my video on, I think I titled it, was it the one, Marcus, where I said the most important thing in photography? That's one of my personal favorite videos that I've made. I mean, the videography sucks. I mean, it's all blurry and grainy, but the message, the content of that video was great, I thought. And Tommy S. from Norway, greetings. Thinking of buying used Fuji X-T20 and 18 to 55 or an Olympus EM5 II with a 14 to 150. What do you think would be best for landscape all around? Well, the EM5 Mark II will be weather sealed, right, with that lens. That lens is also weather sealed. And the 18 to 55 and the X-T20, it's a great camera. I think both will suit you very well, and you'll get great images out of either one. But the M5 Mark II is weather sealed and also has a high-res shot mode, which will give you an effective 50 megapixels, which the X-T20 does not do. Also, the image stabilization on the M5 Mark II is by far superior. So outside of landscapes, because landscapes typically are on a tripod anyway, outside of landscapes, you'll get a lot more functionality out of the M5 Mark II. So if you don't have any other camera, clearly I think the M5 Mark II is a superior camera to the X-T20. So if you have other cameras, that might be a different answer. But I'm making the assumption you don't have one. I can't think of any scenario where I would prefer an X-T20 over the M5 Mark II. Honestly, I can't think of any scenario other than if you really like the Fujifilm simulations, which are JPEG only. And you can apply them in post to a raw image if you want. But yeah, for landscapes, I would definitely prefer the M5 Mark II. Because of the weather sealing, because of the high-res shot mode ability, and the image stabilization. Now, in a landscape, you're going to turn image stabilization off and try to use silent shutter, okay, also to reduce shutter shock. But yeah, overall, the M5 Mark II is a better camera in my opinion. The only new thing from OM Digital is the website, says Lauren. And let's see. Yeah, Dave says he'd rather have a new lens. And it looks promising. Rick says it looks promising that OMD Solutions are investing in producing a new magazine. Definitely, definitely. And the few words that I read from the beginning of that magazine were very hopeful as well, promising. And Oh, let me catch up on the chat here. Oh, Moses is here. Good to see you. It's good to have an uninterrupted power supply to connect your computer to on those situations when power goes out. Or I also recommend EcoFlow R600. I don't know what that is. I assume that's some sort of power management, but um, yeah, I used to have power supplies like UPSs hooked up to my router and internet and um, to all my computers and everything. And honestly, that would give me maybe 20 to 30 minutes of extra run time. But if I'm like what I was doing yesterday, processing video or rendering video, it'd probably be like 10 minutes because it's drawing, a couple hundred watts at a time. And those things are really only, what, 1000 amp, 1500 amp UPSs. I mean, you could buy higher UPSs, but it just gets expensive. So, and it's very rare the power goes out. And the good thing is, actually, I got a phone call from the power company around 10 a.m. saying that they're going to cut the power for about an hour. And 11 o'clock rolled around and the power was still on. So I said, oh, well, I guess it's fine. But then, so I didn't start rendering. I said, well, I might as well start rendering the video and doing these other things. And that's when the power cuts out. Don't they swear you in the courtroom? And watching on phone now, not my favorite platform. Yeah. I don't like to use my phone other than just just to check things. Look. I mean, get off the face detect. Thanks, Ellie. You got that? I gotta straighten my camera out because I'm all the way off to the side. There. I tell you, I used to be a hardcore major geek, and now technology just frustrates me. When I was a kid, I was all into everything. Like, oh, I gotta show you a picture. Hold on. When I was digging out my old stereo equipment, I found a box of pictures from when I was in junior high. Yeah, I think this is a junior high picture when I was into CB radios. But I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, I have my handheld. This was a 100 milliwatt 3-channel CB, and then down here was my base station, and this is just an AM/FM cassette thing. This is my Viking CB radio that you put in a car, and then above that is my SWR meter, and then down here I had a powered microphone. Um, Dang, why is it out of focus again? Anyway, I was I was such a geek my whole life. Uh, what's this? What paper is this on? This is I'm just curious what it, because there's very fine print on here. Oh, it's just faded. It says Kodak. I can see that. Kodak. The part of the problem is it's a mirror image of the writing. I don't know why. Oh, no, it's upside down. This paper manufactured by Kodak. Oh, that's all it says. But that's cool, isn't it? Oh, who's texting me? Let me see. Yeah, Julie says she's buried up there. Don't worry about coming up. Is that today? I thought it was on Wednesday. I'm supposed to go to a birthday party. I gotta call her. She lives in a really nice little town, Hampstead, Maryland. It's photographically, it's very interesting. Um, Watching, okay, on digital, we'll be at the CP Plus show February 25th. Yeah, I can't wait for that. February 25th, we should get some more news about OM Digital. And then John Matthews asks, is Shutterstock a thing on any Olympus cameras? Which ones? It's definitely a problem on the M5 Mark II at long focal lengths. And I discovered this when I was doing that test of the 14 to 150 lens. Because I was testing how sharp it is for landscapes and things like that. And I was comparing it against the 40 to 150 and the 14 to 42 kit lenses. And I noticed that the shots were getting, I thought maybe because my tripod wasn't sturdy. So I put a very sturdy tripod and I was shooting in anti-shock mode, right? Which is, first curtain shutter. And I was getting shutter shock. So when I put it in the silent mode, the images were tack sharp, relatively speaking. So EM5 Mark II, definitely. I haven't tested other cameras. I've never noticed shutter shock on any of my other cameras, but I did notice it on the EM5 Mark II, which begs the question if it's present on other on other OMDs, but I haven't tested for it, to be honest. But I think the settings were. Let me see if I can find it. I can tell you the settings I used. Let's see, it was in 2019. I'm just going to see if I can find it real quick. 2020. No, I did this last year. 2020. EM5 Mark II. And then I just have to scroll down. How come it's not here? It was late 2020. My toilet paper. And seriously. Maybe I used the M5 Mark III. Let me see. Because it's not showing. M5 Mark III. No, I'm positive it was the M5 Mark II. Give me a second. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe I only did JPEGs. I didn't do RAW for that video. Let me see. I go down. It's a very high possibility I deleted all of those pictures when I was culling my images. Yeah, I bet that's what it is. Ah, sorry, John. I I think I called those, deleted those images after I made the video. Otherwise, I would tell you the settings I was using, and then you would know the shutter speed. But it had to be pretty fast shutter speed because I was shooting outside at base ISO. Oh, Tommy S says this is your first camera. Okay, good. It's a great camera. I paid $699 for mine with the 14-150, Tommy. Just to give you a reference, that's a good price. You might be able to find it for less, but don't pay more than that for that camera. If you can find it used, you can pay like probably $500 for that combo. But if you shop around, you'll find for about $699, you'll find the EM5 Mark II and the kit, that 14-150 together. And if you can pay less, all the better. And good news for Rick, power and heating will not go off. And Johannes DeWalt says, the magazine doesn't impress me at all. They need to show agility in new bodies and lenses like Fuji. What do you mean by agility? I'm curious. And we all enjoy your humor, Elaine. Oh. And just wait until Rob finds out they make remote controls for TVs. Let's see. Oh man, this is when I dropped my phone. Music Sound Gear says, I used to be big time into computers, now I'm in this way. You know what I do when my computer isn't working? Watch TV. That's right. Oh, Elaine says, okay, this is making me angry. I'll see you later. Okay, Elaine, what's making you angry? I'm missing out here. And power mics that take me back. Oh yeah, I used to be Retro Nighthawk. Used to be a CB geek as well in the UK, but used 27 megahertz FM, and US used AM. Ah, that's right. We're on the AM band. Not ham radio, but I think CBs were closer to the AM band. But the sunspots kind of killed off that whole genre. I mean, people still do CBN, but not like it used to be. And Wolftick says, I had a CB in my car and a Radio Shack base station. Nice. David says, it was me as I had issues with the stream. I'm not seeing any issues with my stream. Lysippus says, Rob gets frustrated when people talk about the need for a new sensor for Ollie. No real explanation. The narrowband channel review on the M1 Mark III opened my eyes to OMD sensor. Thanks for recommending him. Yes, definitely, Lysippus. I'm going to try and have him on my channel as a guest this month. Really, I need to work out some things, but definitely that's coming. And Ellie needs a taller chair. I kicked her out. When I went out to get the photo, she ran out. She wants to go lay down outside. Which is good because she's just hair everywhere now. Okay, wow, I'm all caught up on chat. I don't believe it. Oh, you're having FiOS issues with internet, is what David Crook is saying. Yeah, FiOS has been 99% reliable for me. When I had Cox, oh my God. Oh, constant problems. And FiOS has been great for me. I'm getting hungry. Yep. Retro Nighthawk. I like that. I like that screen name. And Lawrence says, my aunt and uncle had a brand new RCA color TV, which was bought on sale for $9.99. Beautiful 19-inch color, rounded screen, big speakers, and wood cabinet, and yes, a remote. Ed Sullivan Show in color. Wow, I remember our first color TV. It was an RCA, as a matter of fact, and it was a 20. No, it was. I believe it was a 19-inch. Also, I don't know what my dad paid for it, but yeah, it was in a big wooden box. But it was a tabletop TV. It wasn't. It wasn't like a full stand, console type. And I went into my mom's attic a couple months ago, and there was a black and white TV in the attic from the 60s. I mean, the screen was cracked on it, so there's no way it's ever going to work again. But an old tube black and white TV, and I remember watching on that TV. So that in today's dollar, that's like $10,000. Yeah. I remember buying the first VCRs when they came out, VHS, VCR. They were RCAs also. Wow, RCA. Come to think of it, does RCA even make stuff anymore? I don't think I've seen any RCA products in forever. But man, they were everywhere back in the late 70s and early 80s. Oh, Samir. Hello, Rob. Which f-stop do you recommend me to set to take landscape photos? F4 to F22? I would say F5.6 or F8. It really depends on um, where you're focusing. So if the landscape if there's a lot of foreground objects, I would say F8. If you're focusing on more of the foreground, I would do F8. But if it's kind of like a mountain type landscape, F5.6 will be fine. And that's usually good enough. Um, I don't know if I have any examples. But what you can do is find your focus point, because you want to do the old what do they call it? I can't even think of the term now, but it's when you focus and you're trying to get infinity focus past a certain point for your depth of field, right? So rule of thumb is you focus about 1/3 into the frame in terms of distance, and then everything after that will be in focus, right? Uh, so what you do is you focus on about 1/3 of the frame, and then you can punch in, magnify in the EVF, right, and look at the background and see if that's in focus too. So you know, if things are more close up, like trees and things, then it's not a big deal. I have 5.6. But if things are further away, uh, like I said, it depends if you're focusing closer or further away. F8 is fine. I would say rule of thumb, you can go F8, but I prefer F5.6 personally. Because I found that to be the sharpest point on most of our lenses. F8, they say diffraction starts to set in, and you can see it when you're shooting at F8. Gosh, what is that tech? Somebody tell me hyperfocal distance. Thank you, Music Sound Gear. Search for videos on hyperfocal distance, okay? And then go to there's depth of field calculators and stuff, or hyperfocal distance calculators also online. You can search for those two things. Those are two excellent. That's an excellent way to really make sure your landscape photos are as sharp as they can be. So set your hyperfocal distance aperture at f5.6, and then use the hyperfocal distance calculator to calculate the distance that you want to focus at, and then punch in and just double check, right, through your EVF. And Lauren says, Schwinn bikes. I bought a Schwinn with money I made from paper route. 75 cents a day, but that was money, not fiat currency. I know. And that says, Ellie is a wise dog. Of course she thinks you're talking to her. How else are you talking? Who else are you talking to? Yeah, that's true. I mean, Talking, generally talking though, she, yeah, if anything comes out that sounds like treat or food or walk, she's not here now, so I can get away with saying those things, but she gets on me like that. And Thomas says RCA no longer exists. Its demise began with the huge bust of its CED analog video disc in the 70s. Oh, okay. Photopills has distance calculator. Cool. Photopills has a distance calculator. But yeah, if you Google hyperfocal distance calculator, something will come up, Samir. Then just put in f5.6 or f8, and you'll be all right. And your focal length will probably be 14 millimeters or 12 millimeters, so the depth of field is going to be really wide. Nah, Woltix says Schwinn still makes good budget bikes. We have several as projects. RCA is likely a China brand now for cheap stuff like $10 headphones. Yeah, probably. Let me see. I'm going to type in RCA in Google. RCA, the American brand, TV, tablet, home. So Wikipedia says acquired by GE in 1986, various divisions sold and liquidated. Trademark sold to Thomas Technicolor in 1987. Okay. Yeah, so they're gone, basically. Wow. I had no idea. I mean, by the time I was at an age that you could actually buy things, see, they were sold in 1986, so that was like I was still in college at the time. Um, so that would be before I could really start to buy things on my own because I didn't have a job, right? That's probably why I didn't notice they were missing. As during their demise, if their stuff started disappearing off the shelf even before I was in college, that'd be another reason why. Say something in college for us. Oh, what could I say? My favorite class in college was actually English. English 101. I had a great teacher. She really improved my writing a lot. She was great. So man, I don't remember anything about English 101 anymore. All the grammar rules and writing. God, I wrote a lot. I wrote so much stuff. I studied pre-law. Man, that's a lot of writing. A lot of reading and writing and research. I don't envy lawyers at all. Man, I'm glad I didn't get into that. I'd probably kill myself by now. Because if I never read a book again, it'll be too soon. But say something. The only thing that is why your ear's smart now. Only thing I can think of college wise is maybe that it's more high school actually. I can't think of anything in college. I was in a fraternity, so yeah, that was pretty rough. It was awesome, but it was rough. That's when hazing was still a thing, right? Now, you can't touch anybody, but back then, whew, man, it was rough, the hazing. I got through it though. But okay, I think I'll end it here. It's almost time for my next stream where I do photo editing. So thanks everybody for coming in. I really appreciate your time spending with me this morning. It's always the highlight of my day and college where I learned to spell beer. That's right, Lauren. I'm going to move on to my photo editing live stream that starts at 12 o'clock or in about 15 minutes. So you can join me there if you want to see some photo editing and critiquing and stuff like that. It's always a lot of fun there. It's just for fun, really. You know, we don't get too serious over there either. So we'll catch you guys back. It's Tuesday now, right? Not Sunday. So I'll be back on Thursday. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again for stopping in.